This is Inside Indiana Business Radio for the afternoon of Monday, September 11th, 2023. I'm Alex Brown. West Lafayette-based Amplified Sciences, which is developing a platform to diagnose pancreatic cancer earlier among high-risk patients, recently completed a $1.5 million wave of funding. CEO Diana Caldwell says the funding will help the startup scale up.
We're adding team members and bringing other additional partners that will enable the regulatory certificate that's required to run this test as a clinical test for patients in a CLIA lab. It fuels a commercial stage assay, meaning that we'll be able to make it available now for physicians who want to order the test and helping them re-stratify their patients.
The company is currently validating its platform to clear a key regulatory hurdle before commercialization. BioCrossroads has begun a nationwide search for its next president and CEO. The organization has tapped Indianapolis-based Medallion Partners to find a successor for Patty Martin, who stepped down in April. Officials hope to name that person by the end of the year. Tipton-based Chariot Automotive Group has teamed up with Ivy Tech Community College to launch Chariot Automotive Institute, which will seek to offer high school juniors and seniors hands-on training and college credit. Participating students can complete half of the credits needed for an Ivy Tech associate degree in automotive technology. From the number one source for Indiana business news, this is Inside Indiana Business Radio.
For 25 years, we've had the honor of telling the story of Indiana business. More than 1,300 shows, 8,000 interviews. We've traveled from Valparaiso to Versailles, Fort Wayne to Fort Branch, and everywhere in between. And we are just getting started. Our team is passionate about Indiana business because your story is worth telling. Join us every week as we travel the state to bring you Indiana's story. Inside Indiana Business, 25 years and counting.
BT Brands has dropped its lawsuit against Indianapolis-based Noble Romans, but the North Dakota-based restaurant company says it will continue in its other efforts to effect change in the restaurant chain's board of directors.
Together, West Fargo-based BT Brands and CEO Carrie Copperrood own about 9% of the total shares of Noble Roman stock, making them among the company's largest shareholders. BT Brands has been sparring with Noble Romans over whether Noble Romans CEO Scott Mobley should remain on the company's board. Mobley was the only board member up for re-election this year. BT Brands had proposed replacing Mobley with Copperrood, arguing that a fresh perspective was needed to turn things around at the company, which has seen its share price and shareholder equity decline and its long-term debt increase under Mobley's leadership. For its part, Noble Romans called the BT Brands proposal disruptive and said its 5-member board of directors unanimously supported re-electing Mobley to the company's board. In late June, Noble Romans said it had determined that BT Brands was not qualified to nominate Copperrood because the company had not been a shareholder of record at the time it made the nomination. BT Brands asked the court to, among other things, permit it to vote in the board election and, quote, permit Mr. Copperrood to take the seat to which he will have been duly elected. The court denied the request. BT Brands officially withdrew its lawsuit against Noble Romans on Thursday. In a statement issued that day, BT Brands noted that 3 of the 5 Noble Romans board seats will be up for election next year, and, quote, we expect to nominate representatives for each available seat. Kate Sharon, Inside Indiana Business Radio.
The Follinger Foundation is awarding a 3-year, $1 million grant to the Fort Wayne Parks and Recreation Department in celebration of the foundation's 65th anniversary. The funding will support the department's Follinger Outdoor Theater, originally built in 1949 as a gift from foundation founder Helene Follinger in memory of her father, as well as the Follinger Freeman Botanical Conservatory, which opened in 1983 with a gift from the foundation. The Follinger Foundation has donated more than $5.4 million to the 2 venues since 1997. Indiana's new Secretary of Commerce says in order to continue the state's economic development momentum, spreading such deals around the state is absolutely critical. David Rosenberg told Inside Indiana business host Gary Dick that billion-dollar projects announced in Kokomo, New Carlisle, and Terre Haute are examples of Indiana's potential, particularly over the next 16 months.
I think our overall pipeline is right around $100 billion, and that's not just wishful projects. These are projects that are in some stage of development that either companies have come visited, we're negotiating PSAs, we've had active conversations with them. And so these are projects that are moving, that are active. We probably won't win every single one as much as we want to, but I think we're hitting at a pretty good clip right now. We'll continue to see that historic investment in the state.
Rosenberg said he plans to continue the state's focus on the 5E plan, which stands for Environment, Economy of the Future, Entrepreneurship, Energy Transition, and External Engagement. Indy Star columnist Greg Doyle is this week's guest on the Business and Beyond podcast with Gary Dick, presented by PNC, a weekly conversation with high-profile Hoosiers in business, sports, and entertainment, and beyond. Available now from your favorite podcast provider. I'm Alex Brown for Inside Indiana Business Radio on Demand.